Why doesn't Hiccup cry when his dad dies? When Stoic dies, Hiccup kneels beside his body. No tears, no screams, just a vacant stare. It's not strength, it's trauma. He doesn't cry because his body won't let him. His world just collapsed and his brain shuts down to protect him from the emotional overload. Later during the funeral, his expression doesn't change. Everyone else is grieving. Hiccup is frozen, locked in silence. Because when you lose the one person who always believed in you, you don't break down, you go numb. 2. Did Toothless kill Stoic or did Hiccup cause it? Toothless pulled the trigger, but Hiccup set the stage. He knew the Alpha had full control over Toothless, but still stepped in front of him, hoping love would break through. He gambled with hope, and Stoic paid the price. In a flash, a father sacrifices himself to save a son who miscalculated everything. Hiccup looks down at Stoic's lifeless body, and you can see the guilt creeping in. This wasn't just a tragic accident, it was a consequence of believing love alone could stop war. And that's a lesson Hiccup will carry every time he looks Toothless in the eye. 3. Why is Hiccup obsessed with maps? In nearly every scene, Hiccup's either drawing maps or flying over new lands. He tells everyone it's for exploration, but really, it's escape. Every new island, every unknown territory is just a distraction from the truth. He doesn't want to be chief. Maps give him structure, control, and distance from the responsibilities waiting for him back home. He is terrified of becoming his father, or worse, failing to live up to him. So he runs not with his legs, but with his curiosity. And deep down, he hopes he never runs out of world to explore. 4. Why did Valka never come home? Valka spent 20 years just a few days' flight away from Berk and never returned. She watched dragons grow, built a new life in secret, while her son grew up without a mother. Not a letter, not a whisper, not a single moment of reaching out. She says she stayed away for the dragon's safety, but that does not erase the emotional damage she left behind. When she sees Hiccup again, her first words are about him, not about her son. There's no apology, just awe that he turned out all right without her. Because in Valka's story, Hiccup was never the priority the dragons were. 5. Did you notice Valka never apologizes to Hiccup? When Valka finally meets Hiccup, she's overwhelmed by how much he is like her. But as they talk, something is missing. She never says, "I am sorry." Not for disappearing, not for letting him grow up without a mother, and not for staying hidden all these years. Instead, she immediately shifts the focus to dragons, as if their bond excuses the pain she left behind. Her wonder and admiration for Hiccup's spirit replace actual accountability. But for Hiccup, who's waited his whole life to understand why she left, that silence cuts deeper than any battle wound. Forgiveness can't start until someone asks for it, and she never does. 6. What if Hiccup never expected to live past 20? He charges into fire, confronts Drago face to face, and soars into storms with barely a thought. At first glance, it looks like bravery, but it feels more like resignation. Like someone who never believed they would live long enough to grow old anyway. He has lost so much: his leg, his mother, his place in the world. And when people tell him to be careful, he shrugs it off. Like his life doesn't matter. Hiccup isn't just fearless. He's emotionally detached from his own survival. Because sometimes when you have been through enough, the idea of dying stops feeling scary. 7. Why did the Alpha choose Toothless? The Alpha didn't just pick Toothless because he was strong, it was because of what was hidden beneath his gentleness. Toothless, for all his charm and playfulness, carried a storm inside him. When Hiccup was in danger, that storm erupted into something primal, unstoppable. The moment he stood against the bewilderbeast, we saw a side of him that scared even the other dragons. It wasn't love that made him Alpha, it was dominance, fire rage. That hidden fury had always been there, just buried beneath loyalty. And the Alpha knew how to awaken it. 8. Did Astrid know Hiccup was breaking inside? Throughout the film, Astrid stays close to Hiccup, but she never pushes too hard. She sees how lost he is caught between being the boy who wants peace and the man who must lead. He avoids eye contact, deflects with jokes, and runs from responsibility. And Astrid never lectures him because she understands. She knows what grief does, what guilt sounds like when it is disguised as bravery. So instead of fixing him, she supports him quietly, patiently. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can do for someone is stay. Why does Hiccup wear Stoic's armor? After Stoic's death, Hiccup puts on his father's armor, and you can see how heavy it feels. It doesn't fit his body or his heart. He's still the same boy trying to prove himself now, wrapped in the legacy of someone he doesn't believe he can live up to, but he wears it anyway, because grief doesn't wait until you're ready. He's not doing it because he feels strong, He's doing it because he's broken. The armor doesn't make him feel like a chief, it just helps him pretend to be one. 11. Was Toothless ever truly safe to be around? Under the Alpha's control, Toothless becomes something unrecognizable. In a split second, the dragon who once playfully chased light beams kills the man who raised Hiccup. He does not hesitate, does not blink, he fires. And when the control breaks, he looks around confused like a stranger waking up from a nightmare. The pain in Hiccup's eyes is more than grief, it is betrayal. Because if love wasn't enough to stop Toothless, then what truly separated him from every other dragon? Even after everything, a part of Hiccup may never fully trust him again. 12. Why is Toothless becoming Alpha not a happy ending? Toothless defeats the Bewilderbeast in a moment of incredible power and emotion. The other dragons bow, and for the first time, he is not just a sidekick, he is a king. But something shifts in that moment, something subtle and irreversible. He now belongs to all dragons, not just to Hiccup. The friendship that once felt simple becomes layered with responsibility and leadership. He does not run to Hiccup after the battle. He stands alone. The crown he earns comes with quiet distance. 13. Why does Drago really hate dragons? Drago shows his scars and tells a tale of survival, but it is just a mask. He never healed from his trauma, he fed it. Rather than face his fear, he built walls of power and pain. He enslaved dragons to feel in control, punishing the very creatures that once hurt him. But hatred built on fear only creates more destruction. Drago did not just become a villain, he became the same monster that scarred him. And in doing so, he let his pain rule the world. 14. Why does the sky turn black during the final battle? The moment Stoic dies, the world reacts. The light fades, clouds gather, and the battlefield becomes a graveyard. It is more than just a storm. It is symbolic grief. Nature itself mourns with Hiccup. Everything turns darker from that moment on, visually, emotionally, narratively. It marks a point of no return for the story. From that second forward, the boy Hiccup is gone. 15. Why does Hiccup accept the role of chief with a blank face? When the village looks to him, Hiccup says nothing. There is no pride, no speech, no celebration, only silence. He does not feel like a leader. He feels like a kid in his father's clothes. The weight of the title does not inspire him, it buries him. He becomes chief not by choice, but by loss. And the silence he carries is louder than any crown. Because leadership in this moment feels like a punishment for surviving. 16. What if Toothless remembers killing Stoic every single day? The moment the Alpha's control breaks, Toothless looks around and sees what he's done. He does not fight back, does not roar. He just stares lost and horrified. When Hiccup steps away from him, it is the first time we see fear in Toothless's eyes. Not fear of the Alpha, fear of himself. He does not try to follow Hiccup. He just lowers his head as if silently asking, "Can you ever forgive me?" And that weight never leaves him. Not in this film. Not ever. 17. Why does Hiccup try to save even those who want to kill him? Hiccup offers peace to Drago even after everything. Because deep down, he is not just trying to fix the world, he is trying to fix himself. He could not save his mother from leaving, could not stop Stoic from dying, could not keep Toothless from hurting someone. So he clings to the idea that someone can be saved. He believes mercy is strength even when it hurts. But sometimes mercy is just misplaced. Hope born from old wounds. And Hiccup keeps trying to save others, hoping one day he will save the part of himself that still feels broken. 18. Why do the dragons leave in the end, and was it already starting here? Toothless becoming Alpha created a quiet shift, one neither he nor Hiccup fully noticed. He started responding to a larger calling to the instincts of a leader, not just a friend. Even in victory, he stood a little taller and a little farther away. That loyalty never faded, but it no longer belonged only to Hiccup. By the time the third film arrives, the goodbye feels inevitable, but the cracks in their bond began the moment the dragons bowed. The end did not start with separation, it started with evolution. 19. Did Stoic's death have to happen? Story-wise, it pushed Hiccup to grow, but emotionally, it was a brutal shift. Stoic was more than a warrior. He was Hiccup's anchor, his safety net. Without him, Hiccup is forced to lead a world he's not ready for, and there's no training for losing a parent that way. His death wasn't just dramatic, it was permanent change. It stole the last bit of innocence Hiccup had and made sure he could never go back. 20. What if How to Train Your Dragon was never really about dragons. The dragons were always metaphors for growth, change, fear, and love. The real journey was Hiccup's emotional evolution. He loses his leg, his family, his dragon, and still chooses peace. It is a story about letting go again and again, even when it hurts. About learning that love does not always mean holding on. Sometimes it means setting someone free. By the end, it is not about taming dragons, it is about surviving grief, and realizing that heartbreak, not fire, is the hardest thing to endure.